Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing board for having inviting me and giving me the opportunity to present you our experience in Belgium. It's not the one, but it's our experience. Maybe it can be a subject to discussion further. So first of all, I would like to explain you a little bit the clinical trials in Belgium. So Belgium historically also strong leadership in clinical trials. In 2016, we were still the #2 after Denmark of the European countries in terms of per capita participation in clinical trials. We are one of the world leaders in clinical trials for some reasons, because we have a strong expertise in clinical trials. 500 new clinical trial applications representing 12% of the 4,000 new trials started in Europe. It was in 2016. And we had 22% of the phase 1 trials. I will explain why we have so many phase 1 trials in Belgium. We have a wide range of therapeutic domains, the top 4 domains of 29% for cancer. We have a lot of cancer trials in Belgium. We have cancer centers, but also in university hospitals. We have CNS studies, virus disease, digestive system. These are the 4 main domains. So 20% of the cancer clinical trials performed in Europe are implemented in Belgium. The advantage of speed, that is the reason why we have so many phase 1 trials in Belgium, because we have very short, for the moment, we still have very short timelines for approval. So the time for approval is 15 days for monocentric phase 1 trial. So this is very attractive for pharma companies. So the infrastructure is also very good. So we have more than 70 hospitals performing quality research, and we have 7 university hospitals, which is a lot for a small country as Belgium, but this is the complexity of Belgium, as you can imagine. So the advantages of that is for patients and their physicians first. It's also for researchers, and it's for the economy also, because pharma industry investment, for example, in research into new medical products in Belgium was 2.89 billion in 2016. So it's a lot. We have a lot of pharma companies staying in Belgium. Okay, so what's the rationale for creating a clinical trial center? So the source of these elements, it was a survey performed by pharma.be, which is like you have here the representative, the same in Portugal, is the pharma company staying in Belgium. And they defined the 3 most important things to go in a country for clinical research. And it was, first of all, the rapid startup timelines. They have to go fast to start to put in place this clinical study very fast. The efficiency in patient recruitment, of course, because if you have clinical trial, you need patients, and the quality of research centers. So it was at the origin of the idea of creating clinical trial centers, because having this central organization in a hospital promotes quality and decrease the timelines for putting clinical research in progress. So what in their survey, they also noted what they find in Belgium, and they actually find the startup timelines, I already talked about that, quality of research centers, and the expertise of investigators. So everything could be in place to start clinical research. So my hospital is Clinique Universitaires Saint-Luc. I will say CUSL, just to gain time. So we are the university hospital of the Université Catholique de Louvain, but those 2 institutions have a separate legal status, so it makes some difficulties, but it's like that. But of course, with a privileged relationship between the university hospital and the university. We are a non-profit organizations organization. And the missions of the hospital are, of course, patient care, training because it's a university, and research is one of the missions of the university hospital and serving the community. So I give you some numbers. I will not go in detail, but you have the information. So clinical research at the hospital, we have now 101, so it's 79 full-time equivalent research nurses or study coordinators spread in 25 services. We have more than 400 investigators and sub-investigators involved in clinical research. So potentially all the physicians could be researchers, could be investigators, because we are in a university hospital. So the ethics committee submissions, we have more or less 350 submissions per year, only for the hospital, because there is also research performed only at the university. And half of the submissions are concern academic research, half concern commercial research. All the medical services are involved in clinical research, but more or less 10 services represent 80% of the research performed. Onco-hematology, I told you oncology is very, we have a lot of studies in Belgium. Gastroenterology, neurology are the most important services. We recruit more or less 1,000 new patients per year in prospective studies. We have more or less 800 active prospective and retrospective studies. 50 of them are funded by the pharma industry. We have between 130 and 150 new commercial contracts per year. So, and this number is stable over the years. So it's not increasing, but as you probably know, everywhere in Western Europe, we are fighting against the decrease in number of commercial studies. So getting it stable, it's at least something good. We have 9 active European funded projects, H2020 project. When we're concerning academic research at the hospital, so the type of studies for academic research is translational research, so it's really from the university to the hospital, from bench to bed research. Any other research performed by physicians, PhD students, any other students. But one important thing is that there is a full respect of the academic freedom of the physicians by the direction of the hospital. We don't have any central committee deciding which study can be performed in the hospital. The type of collaboration for academic research is, of course, university, but other Belgian or international universities. We collaborate also with non-commercial organizations like EORTC, scientific societies, with the Belgian authorities, with the European authorities for example, H2020 studies. The funding of this academic research, so we have different possibilities for the funding. We have what we call the Saint-Luc Foundation, where we have external donors giving money for research. We have the grant sponsoring from pharma companies also. National scientific research funding, mainly for PhD students. We have the CUSL Clinical Research Fund, which is funded by the reduction in payroll tax paid by the employer for the researchers. Just one word for that. So it's a decision from the Ministry of Health and Finance Ministry. So it's not something that the hospital gain in money, but it's money that the hospital doesn't have to give to the authorities. It's a reduction in the taxes for scientific research. So it's important. It's a huge amount of money, for example, in a hospital. It's something like 30 million euro per year. And in 2018, we funded 22 researchers with that, and it also covers the fee, the payment of part of the CTC personnel, but I will go in details for that. So also a funding for academic research, like everywhere, is financial margin from commercial and non-commercial research. So financial aspects for the clinical research teams. For the physicians, they are employees of the hospital. We are a university hospital, so they are employees. Then the permanent clinicians of the hospital, they have 3/11 of the working time funded by the university to promote research. So it's a dedicated time to research. The study coordinators, they are also employees of the hospital. But the function is financed by external resources only, by research, by data management fees from commercial research mainly. So there is a central hiring process for the study coordinator, but we need a central approval, financial approval before hiring a person. We need to be sure that we have the money to hire the person. 90% are with indefinite term contracts, but severance payments are foreseen for the recruitment also to protect the institution, because if there is no clinical research anymore, we can't keep these people in the hospital. So we have to protect ourselves. They are linked and dependent to an investigator internal research account. So there is no centralization of the research fees, but the fees are in the hospital, but they are separate by physicians or by department, and the study personnel is paid by these fees. More or less 50 of them are nurses, the other have a master in science, but we use the same scale of fees for the same function. So they all are paid as bachelor, even if they have a master. There is no Belgian official diploma in clinical research. We have put in place an internal training, so we have an onboarding, a mandatory onboarding for all new people working in clinical research, and a continuing training put in place in the hospital. And for short missions, for example, if an investigators need a clinical research nurse for 3 months, half time, it's impossible to find. So we have an interim company. Pharmacists for clinical research, they are also employees of the hospital. They are paid by external sources also only. So these are the pharmacy fees for commercial and academic research. And the financial stability is also reviewed twice a year to be sure we're okay like that. For the use of the institutional resources, so hospitals say, consultation, radiology department, laboratory, and so on. So the rule accepted in Belgium by the authorities is that the standard of care services performed in clinical trial are reimbursed by the Social Security, but anytime you have a standard of care service, it must be financed by an external service. So this financial feasibility assessment before starting a clinical research is very important, and they need the green light from the hospital. The CTC now, we are for the moment 14 employees, 2.4 full-time equivalent. So 50% are financed by the institutional overhead on academic, but mainly on commercial research contracts. And as I already said, 50% are financed by the clinical research fund. The financial stability is also reviewed twice a year, and the overage is preserved to cover any possible decrease in the amount of study. So we have to prepare the future, of course. So the Clinical Trial Center now, so the mission is really to professionalize the organization and coordination of biomedical research at the hospital. The activities are performed for commercial and non-commercial research. So it's a huge single desk for biomedical research, and really it's an administrative support structure to protect the investigators, to protect the patients, and to protect the hospital also, because it's our responsibility to give the green light to put in place a clinical research, and in respecting the legal point of view, the financial point of view also. And we are in link, of course, with institution, with the investigators, all the support department, ethics committee, and external partners. So the timeline, this CTC was not, as you see, developed in 1 year. It was started a long time ago, back in 1995, with one full-time equivalent. And the first thing that we did is beginning to start a centralization of the contract management. This is the first thing, because otherwise you don't have an overview of what's happening in the hospital. Then we grew up slowly and always in the beginning it was focused really on this contract management. Then in 2004 we had regulatory affairs, and it was accelerated. The process was accelerated since 2012, when we decided to start the accreditation process. At that moment, you need a quality manager, you need to put in place a quality system in the hospital. So in 2015, we gained the first accreditation, and the CTC was also developed after that. So now, going back to what we have now with our with our reaccreditation in 2018. So we have put in place the quality, human resources reporting, link to the ethics committee, the academic and commercial desk, and legal support. This is very small. I'm not going in detail that, but one important key message for here is that we are depending directly from the medical direction of the hospital. And we have a college of direction composed by the medical director, myself as administrative director, and an associate administrative director. Then we have two big parts of the CTC. So the biggest part is managing contract and finance. The other one is quality and regulatory affairs. Then we have linked all the star that you see there. These are links to the ethics committee, legal departments, and university, of course. So as I said, we are a single point of entry. We have 3 desks. It's important. Well, I think it's a good idea. Well, I say to have 3 desks because people can really identify responsible people for their specific case. So we have commercial desk, academic desk, and a university desk. So the objective of these people is to really to receive, to be the first contact to receive all the documents, all the information before going to the administrative steps. And as soon as the feasibility, as soon as as soon as the feasibility is okay for the study, they come to us, and we manage all the financial regulatory aspects. We do the submissions and so on. And so it's important for the external partners to have one contact point. So the second thing is the contract and finances. As I already said, it's management of contracts and budget for commercial and academic research, invoicing of research fees, financial flow, and institutional overhead calculation. Then we have the academic support European finance project. It's managing H2020 projects is very difficult because you need a strong structure. You need to make the financial reports. It's very difficult. So we have put that in place in the hospital also. Then we have the regulatory and quality management. So regulatory affairs, of course, we need to be up to date with the legal framework. So we have legal support. Quality management, so we build up this quality management system. It was initially done for the accreditation, and this is one of the good points of an accreditation. We developed internal tools like a clinical training management system. We put in place systematic training, as I said, for study coordinators, investigators, CTCT. We have an internal audit program and escalation plan. We audit institution, contract management, and ethics committee. So we had this ARP accreditation. The reporting, so reporting is also important to know where we are and where we are going to. So we developed the key KPI for the medical direction, for the financial direction also. So we have, of course, the annual report, and we make process improvement. For example, we are really looking after unpaid invoices, because it's not because you invoice that you get the money. So it's really important to do that job also. So yearly we have financial indicators at the global level, the income and expenditure, unpaid invoice, financial reports, clinical research indicators, how many contracts signed, what are the timelines, because we are always thinking of process improvement to speed up the process, ethics committee submission, patient recruitment, publication, of course, with impact factor, thesis supervision, new PhD, and so on. Quality indicators that we take from our internal audits. So the impact is on the Hospital Clinical Research Fund, because this fund is also based on the research production of publication with impact factor and so on. On the personal recruitment, study coordinator, people who want to come to work tells us because the visibility of the hospital increased because of the accreditation, because of that. I was surprised yesterday evening to listen that I have been contacted because of our accreditation, so it's a very nice surprise. So the quality of the research performed, of course, when you put a system in place, you standardize the procedures and you increase definitely the quality. So the creation of a CTC, what did we gain in it? So inside the hospital, so we improved the support to academic research, and academic research really needs it, because physicians, they do research, but they don't want to spend time with all the legal and regulatory things, and they need the support. We have a global overview of what is done in the hospital. We are more compliant with the regulatory requirements. We harmonize the practices, and it's really a support to the ethics committee, because the central desk provides a good dossier to the ethics committee, which was not the case before. Outside the hospital, we increase the visibility in clinical research. The processes are more fluid, and the contact points are very well defined. So globally, professionalized supposed to financially sustainable, and it's important to be sustainable, maintaining stability in the number of research. Accreditation, what did we gain inside the hospital? So as I already said, that quality management is in place for research activities. The processes, the procedures are standardized. Systematic training, quality control, professionalization of the ethics committee also. I don't know how it is here, but in Belgium, ethics committee members are not paid for that. So they are not really professionals. They are scientific, but not professional. And it's important to professionalize their work. And so the accreditation was at the origin of the decision to go a step further in the creation of this CTC as it is now. So outside the hospital is a quality label. It's a recognition from the hospital that we follow the standards. So it's important for patients also, and for clinical and the pharma companies. And so it increased the visibility of the hospital. So, as conclusion, my key message is there is a strong need for globalized management of clinical research to increase this visibility. And the first thing is a top-down management. And it is very, very important is to have the support of the highest level of the hospital, the CEO or the medical direction. Because without that, you can do what you want, but you need this support to go a step forward. Then after the highest management, you need the support to the middle management, the physicians of the largest services of the hospital. Take the largest first, and then you go to the smallest. And so you need the financial direction with you, also, of course, the ethics committee and the medical council, because it's very important. Then you need also the support for at the bottom-up management, because when you want to put your procedures in place, to write your procedures, you need the support of the people who are working in practice in clinical research. Otherwise, they will never be followed by anybody. So you need also this bottom-up management. Thirdly, you need the financial security. You only do what you can afford. Don't do it otherwise, because it's not sustainable. And then you need to communicate. All the time, communicate, because you will have to manage the resistance to change. Well, thank you for your attention. I will not say it in Portuguese, but if you have any questions.